The stories that unfolded within the confines of the breeding farms paint a portrait of humanity at its most malevolent. The nauseating reality that emerges from the shadows is an indictment of the depths to which human cruelty can sink. There exists a chapter so harrowing, so deeply ingrained in the tapestry of our collective history, that its mere mention sends chills down one's spine. The sinister world of African black slaves on breeding farms is a haunting truth that will leave you sickened and forever changed. How did the stories that unfolded on these farms expose the depths of human cruelty and challenge our understanding of humanity? What were some of the most nauseating practices and conditions that African black slaves faced on breeding farms? Today, we confront the horrifying reality that African black slaves endured on breeding farms. The 18th century also witnessed the rise of abolition movements in both Britain and America. Influential figures such as William Wilberforce led coalitions comprising Quakers and evangelicals to advocate for the abolition of the slave trade. In 1807, the British Parliament passed the Slavery Trade Act, marking a significant turning point in the fight against slavery. This act intensified the calls for abolition in America as well. In 1808, a ban on the importation of slaves was enacted in the United States. This prohibition aimed to curb the transatlantic slave trade and limit the influx of newly enslaved individuals into the country. However, the restriction only applied to slave imports, not slavery itself. Slave owners had to find other ways to get slaves after this ban. Slave merchants and masters exploited the slave import restriction. With no slaves, they started breeding farms. These plantations compelled slaves to procreate to increase their workforce. Breeding farms were a nefarious way to get over the importation restriction and keep slaves in the nation. Breeding farms changed slavery. Slave masters now produce slaves instead of buying them from foreign marketplaces. Slave masters maximized earnings and maintained a stable workforce by managing breeding and enslaved people's lives. With all this cruelty, the main question should be how enslaved women were specifically treated and what hardships they endured within the confines of their circumstances. We will tell you more about it in a few minutes, so stick till the end. This shift from buying to producing slaves on farms reinforced the dehumanization of enslaved individuals, treating them as mere objects to be bred for labor purposes. Enslaved women were viewed as valuable breeding commodities within the system of slavery. Their reproductive capabilities were exploited to increase the enslaved population and ensure a continuous supply of labor. Rather than being treated as human beings with agency and autonomy, they were reduced to objects solely for the purpose of breeding. Slaves were compelled to have children at an early age. Girls as young as 12 or 13 may have several pregnancies throughout their lifetimes. Without sufficient care during and after delivery, these young ladies suffered greatly. The breeding method separated enslaved women from their children, which was harsh. The widespread practice of pulling babies from their mothers perpetuated slavery and caused terrible anguish to both mothers and children. Slave owners separated to keep control. The conditions on slave breeding farms were akin to those found in animal breeding practices. Enslaved individuals were treated as mere livestock and subjected to controlled mating and breeding for the sole purpose of producing more slaves. The dehumanization was striking, reducing human beings to the level of animals in a profit-driven enterprise. To maximize the production of slaves capable of enduring grueling labor, male slaves known as stockmen were often imported onto breeding farms. The purpose of bringing these men in was to conceive the master's female slaves. This practice further reinforced the objectification and commodification of enslaved individuals, reducing them to tools for reproduction.